Hey, what is up guys? Today I'm going to show you a build capable of tripling your primary weapon damage. For example, it takes a bow like this from hitting 17,000 to hitting 61,000 damage. It's mind-blowing. I mean, just so you get an idea, Taipan, a legendary linear fusion rifle, also deals 61,000 damage unbuffed. I have taken this build into Grandmasters and I've honestly had a blast using it. There's two ways you can play this build. One of them requires you to stick to Stasis weapons, while the other one allows you to use any weapons you want. I'm going to cover both of them in the mods section later in the video. But for now, let's start off with what makes this build possible. Whisper of Rending. This fragment increases your primary ammo weapons damage by 40% when a target is frozen. Now, 40% is a lot. This fragment by itself makes Stasis Warlock very strong, especially because we basically freeze anything and everything, meaning we pretty much have a permanent 40% damage boost for free. This 40% damage boost can be combined with many other buffs like Font of Might for a 25% damage increase to weapons matching our subclass type, High Energy Fire, which provides us with a 20% damage boost to all weapons while being charged with light, Monochromatic Maestro for a 10% stasis weapon damage increase, and finally we also have weapon perks like One for All, Rampage, or even Golden Tricorn, giving us anywhere from 10 to 50% weapon damage increase. All of this combined will make your Stasis primary weapons absolutely deadly. Now, because the build requires you to get close and personal in order to pick up Stasis shards, we need a way to do that without dying, and that's where our next two fragments come in hand. Whisper of Chains, which provides us with a 40% damage reduction when standing next to frozen targets, or a friendly Stasis crystal. And Whisper of Rhyme, that gives us a nice heal and overshield whenever we pick up Stasis shards. To top this off, we are also going to be using our favorite Stasis exotic, the Ospimancy Gloves, which gives us a second charge of our Cold Snap Grenade, as well as it makes the Seekers travel further, and it also returns grenade energy whenever one of those hits a target. This return of energy is actually as good as it gets, because you can literally get your whole grenade back if the Cold Snap Grenades freezes 2 or 3 enemies. Meaning you can spam this grenade infinitely as long as there's enemies to freeze. Remember to try to throw the grenade directly at the enemy so it hits them before landing on the ground, as that will provide you with even more grenade energy back. Finally, keep in mind that Cold Snap Grenades love to bug out, and sometimes they'll either disappear or go in the wrong direction. Now, before we get any deeper, I want to give a quick shout out to Apex Gaming PCs, which I have worked with to make my own personal PC line, which is now available for you guys to check out. You can customize the PCs as you please, and remember, you can also use my discount code TREY for up to $250 discount. Alright, let's get into the aspects, fragments and mods, and then at the end I'll explain how you want to play this build. Stat wise, we are going to be prioritizing resilience, followed by discipline and then recovery. Moving on, we have our aspects, and we are going to be starting with Ice Flare Bolts, and this is going to spawn Seekers whenever you shatter a frozen target, and those Seekers are going to look for enemies and freeze them. It's a very nice way to chain freezes from one enemy to another. Next up we have Glacial Harvest, which is going to spawn Stasis shards next to frozen enemies. We are using these shards to become charged with light, and they also provide you with melee energy. As for our fragments, we have Whisper of Rending, which is going to give us that 40% damage increase when shooting at frozen targets. Next up we have Whisper of Chains, which is going to give us that 40% damage reduction when we are standing next to frozen enemies or a friendly Stasis crystal. Then we have Whisper of Rhyme for that nice overshield and heal whenever we pick up Stasis shards. And finally, I am using Whisper of Fissures, which increases the damage and size of the burst of Stasis when you destroy a Stasis crystal or defeat a frozen target. Now you can also replace this with Whisper of Conduction if you want the Stasis shards to track to your position, or Whisper of Torment if you want to be getting even more grenades. Now for our mods, we are going to be starting on our helmet, and we are going to be using Counter Charge. Now, this is a very nice mod because it goes really well with high energy fire. Because if you combine this with high energy fire, you basically always have a 20% damage increase when facing champions, which is pretty much when you actually need that damage increase. So that's why I'm running this. If you don't want this, then you can run something like elemental time dilation here instead. For our gauntlets, we are going to be running Font of Might, and that is for that 25% damage increase to our stasis weapons. We are going to be activating this whenever we pick up a stasis elemental shard. On our chestplate, we are running high energy fire, and this is going to give us that 20% damage increase to all of our weapons, as long as we are charged with light. On our leg armor, we are running elemental shards, and this is going to make our stasis shards count as stasis elemental wells. And finally, on our bond, we are going to be running elemental charge, because this is going to allow us to become charged with light. That way we can take advantage of high energy fire. I'm also pairing this up with a bomber mod, but if you want to swap it out for Kelvin's Basilisk, you can do that, or even for Entropy Superconductor. I am also using Monochromatic Maestro for that 10% damage increase to our stasis weapons, because it does stack with everything else. Now, if you don't want to stick with stasis weapons, and you want to be able to use any weapons you want and still get a pretty high damage increase, then all you have to do is go and swap out your Font of Might for something like Taking Charge or Charge Harvester. This will basically give you even more stacks of Charge with Light, allowing you to use high energy fire more often. If you're using bows, hand cannons or scout rifles, then Precision Charge is also very nice. Make sure that you also remove Monochromatic Maestro from your bond, as we won't be using stasis weapons, meaning you don't need it anymore. Keep in mind that with this second option, you are going to be missing out on 35% damage increase. However, you'll be able to use any weapons you want, and if you happen to be doing Nightfalls, then you're going to have that burn, which increases your weapon damage by 25% anyways, so in Nightfalls, you will actually only end up missing out on a 10%. When it comes to weapons, if you're doing the first build, then any stasis weapon will do. I like to use Stay Frosty because it has adaptive munitions for harder content. Lunulata for B also comes with some very nice perks, as well as Prolonged Engagement, as this is basically the Funnel Web V2. And we also have Crate if you basically want to never stop shooting a weapon. Now with the second build that allows you to use any weapons that you want, just basically use any bow or any weapon that has primary ammo, like Fighting Lion, Le Monarch, even Taraba. They're all excellent choices for that build. The way you play this build is by spamming your Cold Snap Grenade at the enemy first. If most of the enemies are frozen, you can walk up, grab a stasis shard and start slaying everything. If you can't grab the stasis shard because it's too dangerous, then don't worry about it, you'll still be doing a lot of damage to frozen targets, thanks to Whisper of Rending. Once you kill an enemy, they will shatter, damaging anything that's surrounding them, giving you a pretty good way to add clear. If there's an enemy left close by, then the Seekers that we spawn thanks to Ice Flare Bolt will follow them and freeze them. Remember that you can also freeze enemies with your melee, so if you need stasis shards, then don't be afraid to use it. You can play as aggressive as you want, up to master content. However, in Gunmasters you have to be a little more mindful of when to go in and when to not, as enemies can kill you very easily, even with all the resistances. Either way, this is a different take on Stasis Warlock, and so far I've been really enjoying it. As always, thanks for watching the video, and have a great rest of your day.